because it is already 6:30. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the webinar series conducted by KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited. I am Dr. Girish Warrior, Head Clinical Services and Business Development. So we have been conducting this webinar series for quite a long time now, and these are free open webinars for everybody to join in, not only for doctors, for everybody to get a knowledge about Ayurveda, awareness about Ayurveda, showing how Ayurveda is dynamic and it can work in many fields. So with that, I would like to have a small introduction on the company from the Executive Director, Mr. T.R. Shashi Warrior. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Girish. I'm excited to introduce Ashtanga to you all. KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited was started in the year 1936. Now it has been 84 long years since we have been in this Ayurvedic field. So we have seen a lot of Ayurveda growing in the field. We have seen growing in various ways. Ayurveda has been accepted today in various fields, and that is how you see today Dr. Vaibhavi with us on integrating Ayurveda and allopathy in the dentistry area. Thank you, Dr. Vaibhavi, for coming in for this. So Ashtanga has been in this field for 84 years, started by a veteran KS Warrior, Ayurvedian KS Warrior, who did his Ayurvedic education in Kottakkal, Kerala in the year 1933. He completed his course and came to Trichy, started this institution in 1936. So to make it short, I am the third generation, Girish is in the fourth generation, and so we are continuing with the service that we have been rendering. So we have products, we have about 300 and more products with us, and we have doctors working with us. We have 4 clinics in Trichy and we are expanding. We supply medicines to almost all areas down south, Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra also for now. So we have been on the internet also. We sell our medicines through internet. So we have been reaching out. We've been exporting a few products to London and once or twice to Malaysia. So these are the things that Ashtanga has been in the field of Ayurvedic medicine for long, for it to innovate, keep innovating on products. So we are working on new products also. Lots of new products are in the pipeline. So with this introduction, I give the mic back to Dr. Girish to continue the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Shashi Warrior, I would like to just ask you to, since you are the host now, I would like to ask you to make a Venugopal co-host. Yes. So today, Danta Swasthya, or healthcare of the teeth, in a holistic approach in dentistry, which emphasizes on the oral cavity, which reflects the health of the whole body, where the mouth is often referred to as mirror of the whole body. So if you remember, the last session was eye being the window for health. Now we have the mouth being the window for health, the mirror of the whole body. Let's eagerly look forward to this. Today's speaker is Dr. Y. Joshipura, MDS, consulting periodontist and founder and CEO of Interdent Healthcare Bangalore. So Dr. Vaibhavi Joshipura completed her MDS in periodontology from Government Dental College and Hospital, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. She is currently a consulting periodontist and founder CEO of Interdent Healthcare, a platform of integrated health sciences and technology into mainstream dental practice. She began her academic career in Bangalore and went on to become a professor, postgraduate guide, and head of the department in various dental colleges. She also practices as a consultant in private dental clinics and hospitals in Bangalore. He was Dean of Sri Rajiv Gandhi College of Dental Sciences and Hospital and Chief Operating Officer, Institute of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine, Bangalore. I would like to request all of you to please be on mute. Being an avid researcher, she submitted
Girish, please unmute yourself.
Being an avid researcher, she submitted her doctoral thesis on the relationship between untreated periodontal disease and adverse pregnancy outcomes to Gujarat University in May 2017. She was a member of the Institutional Ethics Committee of various dental colleges and also the Institute of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine, Bangalore. She has been a reviewer on the editorial board of a number of peer-reviewed journals in the field of periodontology and chaired sessions and presented papers at national dental forums. For the past 2 to 3 years, she has been practicing integrative dentistry and provides a platform to dentists consultations with Ayurveda dental specialists through Interdent Healthcare. She also promotes research in this area. We are glad to have her as the speaker for the webinar to share her experience and guide us on the improvement of dental health and oral hygiene. I would like to also add that I have been fortunate to know Dr. Vaibhavi right from the times when I had been working with IAIM Healthcare Center, Bangalore. And we have always been on dental disorders because I am also a Shalakya Tantra specialist. So I am part of this Interdent Healthcare as well. I am proud to be a part of this Interdent Healthcare as well. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Vaibhavi. So I would like to invite you to take on the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaskar, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Ashtanga Ayurveda for providing this platform to interact with all of you. My personal experiences with Ayurveda. So it all started, I think, almost 4 years back, where some of my patients would refuse to take the antibiotics and mouthwashes, which I would generally prescribe, and say that we believe only in Ayurveda. And since I had no other option, I allowed those patients to go ahead with Ayurveda, and I found some amazing results. In gum infections and gum diseases, which I would generally treat with surgeries, and find the recurrence happening very frequently. So that prompted me to explore this area about how Ayurveda medicines can complement the dental or surgical procedures we allopathy dentists do. And if there was any possibility that the two can be combined so that the best results for the patients could be found. And that's when I started my work at IM Healthcare, set up a dental practice there, and I started working with Dr. Sukumar, who was a Shalakya doctor there, and later on with Dr. Girish. And in my interaction with them, I learned a lot, and I realized that most of the dentists and also the patients do not know what all Ayurveda can offer for dentistry in general, and some of the mucosal conditions and periodontal conditions in particular. So that prompted me to start a platform called Interdent Healthcare, which is currently a video consultation platform, but also offers offline services for integrative solutions to dentists as well as patients. We also have programs, I would discuss a little bit later about how we try to reach out to everyone, whether they are in medical field or in Ayurveda field or in general people, and increase awareness about how Ayurveda can be integrated to the dental services. So with that, let's start the presentation. I would just share the. Could you please? Okay, enable. Yeah. So is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. The screen is visible.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start with our mouth. We generally don't consider it a very important organ, but we can do all these functions: speak, smile, kiss, touch, taste, chew, swallow, cry out in pain and protection. Very important functions in our day-to-day life till we live. The mouth that nourishes the entire body and keeps the vital organs like brain, heart, kidney, etc. healthy. So it should be given the importance, because if we think that our heart is very important, then keeping the heart healthy can be only achieved by good nourishment, and which can be achieved only with the healthy mouth. So everything now comes back to the healthy mouth. It becomes very important also because tooth is the only structure which cannot repair itself, unlike the bone and the skin and any other internal organ which undergoes surgeries which repairs itself, which is not the case with the teeth. So the teeth, once they are formed and they come in the mouth, they if some part of it is either fractured or chipped off or lost or destroyed by the cavities, the teeth cannot form themselves and become the whole again, right? It's the way the skin becomes whole and the wound gets uh, cured, and that kind of function is not available. So it is all the more important that we do not allow the damage to the teeth, because now we're not going to get it in the original tooth structure. So the only option we have is replacement. So these are some of the points which I wanted to highlight before we go into the health or diseases of the mouth. A few more points. Our lifestyle and food has become very complex and different than our grandparents, resulting in rise in the non-communicable diseases. So most of the dental diseases come under the category of non-communicable diseases. And in addition to socio-environmental determinants, the oral diseases are highly related to lifestyle factors, which are the risks to most of the chronic diseases like heart problems, COPD, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, so respiratory problems, diabetes, adverse pregnancy outcomes, rheumatoid arthritis, to name a few. And most of the dental diseases do not result in the mortality, so the patients don't die, but it affects the quality of life. According to WHO report in 2003, the oral diseases restrict activities at school, work, and home, and cause millions of school work hours lost each year world over. And the psychosocial impact is often significantly diminishing the life quality of life. So all these things happen because of these three major um, points which I've highlighted here. One is expensive dental treatments, inaccessibility to dental care. In India, if we talk about, more than 72% of Indian population is still residing in the rural areas, and they do not have access to basic dental care, which is not the case when it comes to the medical care, because we have a very good structure of primary healthcare centers to the taluk levels, to the district levels, etc. But in all, at all those levels except the district level, there are no dental clinics provided. So there is inaccessibility to dental care to almost uh, 72 to 75% of Indian population. And we also do not have dental insurance, so most of the people cannot afford the dental treatments. So because of all this, um, the quality of life gets affected and people keep suffering. Few more points about why dental health should be focused. So this was a study done in 195 countries, where they adjusted the years lost to disability uh, in non-communicable diseases. So this study uh, is saying that non-communicable diseases are rising in prevalence globally in line with aging population, refined diets, sedentary lifestyles. They account for 41 million deaths each year, and that is 71% of all global health deaths. So from 1990 to 2017, oral disease, mainly periodontitis, that is gum infection, and caries, that is dental cavities, contributed to most years lost to disability in age standardized prevalence rates. Uh, and the number of people with untreated oral conditions rose from 2.5 billion in 1990 to 3.5 billion in 2015. Now, 3.5 billion is almost half the population of the world. For them, there are untreated oral conditions. So you can imagine it has contributed financially, as well as burden to the economy, as well as the compromise in the quality of life. So how do we perceive dental problems? We think they are annoying and painful. They're not worth sacrificing the leaves. It's time consuming when we wait at the dental clinics, or even the treatments are quite time consuming. Scary looking equipment and instruments. And I've seen most of the patients not coming to dental clinics only because of this one factor, that they just want to keep on neglecting or postponing the dental treatments. They are very scared of dental treatment. Most of the time, the patients say that they keep recurring the dental problems. They're expensive, and nowadays there's additional worry about getting COVID-19 infection from a dental clinic. And above all, we don't seem to be doing anything right for oral hygiene. Most of my patients tell me, doctor, I brush 3 times a day and I do this and I do that. And then why do I still have the gum infection, or why do my gums still bleed, or why do I still develop dental cavities? And I really have no answer for that. So we don't seem to be doing optimal oral hygiene maintenance. So these are the things which we generally prescribe to our patients: 2 times brushing, and the mouthwashes, and the floss, and the interdental brushes, and regular checkup, and the cleaning of the mouth. And all these do not contribute towards reduction in the number of new cases, as well as reduction in the number of new dental problems. So this gives us an idea that we need to look into some other way of handling the occurrence of dental problems. Can we have something like that? So I would just list few of the very common dental problems for which generally we go to the dental clinics. So these are cavities in the teeth, the gum problems, bleeding gums, sensitive teeth to cold and hot things. Then we go to dental clinics for extraction of the teeth, also the wisdom teeth removal. We go for orthodontic treatment, that is the aligning the teeth in a proper shape so that aesthetically it's pleasing and functionally it is optimal. We go with aesthetic dentistry, where the gaps between the teeth, or the yellowish colored, discolored teeth can be handled. And so many, there is an entire branch of aesthetic dentistry. And there is replacement of missing teeth. These are some of the very, very common dental problems because of which we go to the dental clinics. There are some others which are not that common, but they are very, very significant because there is a lot of suffering associated with it. The main is the burning mouth. Now, burning mouth, you can see there are a whole lot of reasons or causes because of which there is burning mouth. And being in this IT capital, Bangalore, for 25 years, in the last 15 to 20 years, I have seen so many young professionals from IT companies who suffer from this burning mouth. Uh, the causes could be right from the stress to the you know, food habits which are wrong, the lifestyle habits which are wrong. They may have clients, you know, in the US or some other countries where they work whole night and they sleep the whole day. And why this is significant, you know, from Ayurveda perspective, all the Ayurveda doctors here would immediately be able to figure it out. But we don't seem to have, you know, proper treatment for it, a proper cure for it. So this is one more very important condition of Aphthous ulcers, or recurring mouth ulcers. And these are seen in so many different categories of people, right from children preparing for exams to postmenopausal women, also to all kinds of people. The third is xerostomia, or the dry mouth, which could be the side effects of all kinds of medicines that the people may be taking, or they may have undergone some surgeries or some hospitalizations, and because of that there is xerostomia, a very common side effect from cancer chemotherapies. And there is one other very important condition which is called precancerous condition, which happens because of tobacco consumption, either either as smoking or as tobacco chewing in various forms. These are the next level of frequency when it comes to dental diseases. I would like now to all of you to just think about, can there be any correlation between oral health and general health? So by looking at the oral health, are we going to make any influence on our general health, or only the dental diseases or oral diseases are important? So when people are under stress, that is an emotional problem. They suffer from different problems like mouth ulcers, stomach ulcers, migraines, lack of appetite, disturbed sleep, lower back pain, to name a few. And you can see that the stress is the one problem and the effects are multiple in different people, different effects happen. That means something which is happening in our minds can affect our body in various different ways. So there can be interconnections between different organs or tissues or systems of the body. One more, when the person is suffering from jaundice, which is a liver problem, their eyes become yellow, eyes and skin. So that the effect is on the skin and eye. There is another uh, example of the connection between different parts of the body. When someone is nervous due to exams or job interviews, which is again an emotional problem, they have stomach upset. Okay, again, one more effect. When someone has vitamin deficiency, which is a systemic problem, their mouth become reddish and start burning. The corner of mouth is cracked. So the effects are on the mouth. When someone has diabetes, which is a systemic problem, they don't feel pain in the foot if the injury happens. There are also effects on kidneys and eyes, but I'm just trying to make you think that mouth is not something separate from the body. So anything goes wrong in the body will definitely have effect on the mouth and vice versa. So we have to start thinking about um, all the systems getting connected together, working in a synchronized manner, so that we can live the way we live. That is with the optimal functional capacity, without getting tired, without getting ill, without getting emotionally disturbed. So you cannot separate out mouth or any other organ or tissue for that matter from the entire body when it comes to health. Yeah. So when there is hormonal balance during pregnancy and menopause, these are physiological functions, but still have effect on mental status like irritability. So uh, this is what it is. In 2015, World Dental Federation has given a report. Now there is a latest report also in 2018. But these are the conditions which impact uh, oral health or oral diseases which impact all these conditions in the general health. I already mentioned about the cardiovascular diseases and COPD and adverse pregnancy outcomes and so on and so forth. Similarly, there are all these conditions which arise in the system in the body, and there are manifestations in the mouth, and you can see how many. So I would like to show you a few pictures how it appears in the mouth. So if there are autoimmune diseases like lichen planus, vesiculobular lesions, Crohn's disease, IBS is on the rise now. Everyone's having those. So and SLE or pemphigus. So these are again some of the diseases. This is how they appear in the mouth. Systemic conditions: ulcerative colitis, cheilitis, leukemia, multiple myeloma, people on hemodialysis, uremia, and Down syndrome. The effects are there seen in the mouth. The only issue is percentage of these people suffering from the manifestations in the mouth is very low. So people generally don't pay attention. But when there are senior doctors who have 20 or more than 20 years of experience, they would have seen so many patients like this during their practice, and the numbers pile up, and that is a revelation that we realize that we can't help these patients. So again, the infectious diseases like herpes simplex infections, HIV, candidiasis, these are very few I'm quoting here. There are so many more which will have manifestations in the mouth. And the most important nowadays is the side effects of cancer therapies. So you have mucositis, xerostomia, dysphagia, osteoradionecrosis, and periodontal problems. Um, most of the time, before the cancer surgeries or therapies, there are protocols wherein the oral conditions are treated before the patient undergoes the cancer surgeries. But once the cancer surgery and therapies, chemotherapies are over, the 5-year survival period, during that part, the patient suffers all these side effects. So because of that, there are problems. And when I say that the all these mucosal conditions, that means you saw all the photographs where the problems were not on the teeth, but they were either on the lips or tongue or gums or palate or all or any other mucosa. Allopathy, we have problems treating them. Okay, so this is what I want to talk to you about, why there should be integration. Allopathy has limitations in curing many oral conditions, and all these mucosal conditions are part of those. Some of these conditions prevent dentists from conducting other regular procedures. You have seen the photographs. If the patient is suffering so much with all these conditions in the mouth, do you think we would be able to do the fillings of the cavities or root canal treatments or implant procedures? It is not possible. So unless the patient is at ease without any pain and suffering in the mouth, or in other parts of the mouth, we can't conduct the regular procedures which we can do so much better. So we realize that no single health science can address all the issues uh, in the mouth. And with that, if we explore other health sciences, Ayurveda can be leveraged due to the systems approach. Why systems approach? We now know that all the systems and organs of the body can be interconnected. And if one is not functioning properly, the effects could be seen in the other organs of the body. So allopathy has a reductionist approach where we are specialist only for that particular region of the body. That means if the person has a problem because of any of the systemic condition, I would not be able to treat them because I focus only on oral cavity and I do not have knowledge about the other parts of the body. So because of that, we have so many limitations, and that is where the Ayurveda comes with the systems approach and immunomodulatory properties. So there are precision medicines now slowly being practiced in allopathy, but for Ayurveda, it has been there from the beginning. So there are individualized treatment protocols. That means in my practice, if I have two patients having periodontal or gum infections, Dr. Sukumar or Dr. Girish, if they're treating my patients, they may not have the same treatment for both. Okay, so the treatment will be very customized and very individualized, and that is what works the best because precision medicine is now being practiced. Again, the team approach is already exist in medicine and dentistry. Whenever I would like to, I'll touch upon this point a little later. So in Ayurveda, we have all these uh, means to maintain the Danta Swasthya. With this today's topic, I'm jumping from diseases to swasthya, but allopathy primarily starts with the disease, and we do not have means to measure the swasthya or the health and maintain the health. That is where the Ayurveda comes with a huge, effective, efficient preventive protocols. So you can see the Danta Dhavana, Jiva Nirlekhana, that is cleaning of the tongue and the gum massage and the lozenges and the oil pulling, which is the Kavala Gandusha, and this Tambula Sevana, that is pan, chewing not with the tobacco. Then there are Nasya, also Dhumapana, that is fermentation or smoke inhalation, medicated smoke. And then there are Lepa, so and the Rakta Mokshana. So I must tell you that all these Ayurveda slides, Dr. Sukumara has helped me preparing those, and he is a leading Shalakya colleague of mine along with Dr. Girish and few others. So Ayurveda also has very good therapeutic approaches in health maintenance, disease cure, restoration of normal function, spiritual or the counseling approach, and abstinence from the causative factors. And they do it with the Ahara Vihara Aushadhi. That means the diet modifications, the lifestyle modifications, and the medicines. So I have found that together, uh, we overcome the limitations what we feel in our in our allopathy, because when there are procedures required, the allopathy has very strong technology and diagnostics. But when it comes to medicinal management or the management of the conditions which have the root cause in the system, in the body, that's where the Ayurveda has the upper hand. So they are complementing each other. So according to me, the integrative dentistry is an attempt to provide the solution for oral problems to the patient by integrating the right combination of allopathy and Ayurveda. So I divide it in three main buckets. The one is the replacement or the medicinal management, where we do not have anything other than steroids or vitamins. So those are the all the conditions which you saw, which do not appear on the teeth, all the mucosal conditions. So these are the conditions where we can only give symptomatic relief by some gels which have anesthetics, or some metrogel which have some antibiotic or local application. Nothing we can do to cure the condition. So that is where the Ayurveda has the entire medicinal management to handle the immunomodulatory responses of the person. Then this is the second one is the main uh, um, bucket, where most of the people go to dental clinics to get a tooth removed, to get a filling done, to get a root canal done. And here the complementary therapy will be for the reduced side effects. Most of the antibiotics, painkillers, and the chemical mouthwash we use have lots of side effects, and we cannot keep on giving them for the rest of their lives. That is where the Ayurveda comes into picture. And nowadays, when I give an option to my patients whether they would like to choose between Ayurveda medicines and the antibiotics, more than 90% of patients choose Ayurveda. So all the elective procedures where acute conditions are not there, severe big swelling, abscess, or severe pain is not there, all these conditions can be managed by Ayurveda. For example, if there are root canals required, generally the dentist put the patients on antibiotics and painkillers. Instead of that, the patients are put on Ayurveda medications. And on the day of the root canal treatment is done. After that, again, the pain management is done by Ayurveda, not by allopathy painkillers. So this is what I'm talking about. Even for periodontal surgeries, the gum surgeries which I do, the Dr. Sukumar generally puts the patients on Ayurveda medicines, or Dr. Girish put them on Ayurveda medicines, and I do my surgeries. And once I remove the stitches and the patient is on the supportive care or the maintenance care, the entire maintenance care is handled by Shalakya doctors. And the third is prevention. I do not need to go in detail. We already discussed about it. The preventive aspects of allopathy are not very effective because all over the world, we don't see any reduction in the dental diseases with the brushing or mouthwashes and flossing and all other things which we generally use. So this is a model which I propose, that in a particular dental setup, there are all the expert dentists on the panel, like periodontist, maxillofacial surgeons, pediodontist, prosthodontist. These are various specialties, and no dental clinic does, the clinician does all the treatment by himself. He calls all the specialists to the clinics. So I propose that the Shalakya doctors also could be part of this panel, where they are virtually called, for the benefit of the patient, with the consultation through video or audio. If possible, offline physical consultation, but if not possible, video consultations. As because the Shalakya doctors do not treat the mouth per se the way we treat the patient. So the video consultation works, and currently more than 35 of my own patients with gum diseases or autoimmune diseases and things like that are under Shalakya care through video consultations only. So these are the people who have benefited from integration with Ayurveda. Children, especially in prevention, as well as very difficult to put them on a dental chair with the high-speed drill. So if you can prevent the dental cavities in the children, it will be very good, and Ayurveda can definitely do it. Geriatric patients who have multiple minor issues and they have so many problems at a time with their digestion, with their other systemic or medical conditions, as well as not being able to go to the dental clinic without somebody's help, not being able to sit for a long period of time on a dental chair, so many issues. So geriatric and bedridden patients, if you want to maintain their oral hygiene status, as well as cure all those minor issues, Ayurveda would be very good. So pre and post-menopausal women have this burning mouth, which is very well handled by Ayurveda. All the students keep on having the oral ulcers. People with smoking and tobacco have precancerous conditions, which can convert themselves into oral cancers. And none of the allopathy treatments are effective. So Ayurveda treatments are very effective. We are, in fact, research project is going on. We are working on it, and we have got some very promising results for precancerous conditions. So I have the other 3 points I've already discussed before. So this is about my platform which I was talking about. We provide expert Shalakya consultations for all these conditions, and these are the courses which we have uh, started. The one on the right is for people in general. Anybody without any medical background also can join. And on the left side, the blue color is for the dentist. These are online courses. We also offer it offline to the institutions, dental colleges, or anybody for that matter they want. Particularly 10-hour courses are there, in which we increase awareness about how Ayurveda can be integrated to mainstream dental practice. So ultimately, I feel that this shlok of Rigved, it fits in precisely that we are both the allopathy and the Ayurveda doctors look at the patient's benefit, and their main objective is to cure the patient from the suffering. So we might as well do it together as a team. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to me. And I would request Dr. Girish if he can add something on the Ayurveda part of this. You need to unmute. You need to unmute.
Yeah, sorry. So
Yeah.
I would like to add something on this. Thank you for the presentation, ma'am. First, before I add, I would like to be thankful to my teachers here who are also present in this session, Dr. Amarnath HK, Dr. Abhijit Hachan, and Dr. Dheeraj BC, being present here on this session. They were the ones who actually gave me the interest into Shalakya Tantra in general and in dental practices in particular for through Ayurveda. So I would like to thank them for being here as well as a support. And please excuse me if I make any mistakes. So, with that, the addition of dental practices, all our texts, particularly in Shalakya Tantra, have mentioned about dental hygiene. And as we all know, Ayurveda has always been talking about wellness first and then about illness. So on the wellness side, good practices have been mentioned to avoid certain diseases. And these diseases have been classified and categorized. So if we can see, there is no direct correlation between certain diseases, but we can somewhat come to a conclusion on certain correlations. So there are diseases like Shausharya and all that, which I think those are in detail. I don't need to go. And they have talked about preventive healthcare. So preventive healthcare in dentistry is again a very big scope. It has a very good scope for, and it's phenomenal in growth for the past few years now. I think Dr. Vaibhavi can add to that because that has been present and we are seeing that. And one example is that when we were working in IAM healthcare, we had a patient with a precancerous lesion because of tobacco chewing, who was basically from the northeastern part of India. He came here as a Gurkha to Bangalore. And while he was practicing, there was nobody to tell him that this was a bad practice, and he had got into the practice, and he came with a degree of mouth opening to be very less, and we were not very sure because he was not able to have anything solid, and he was only on semi-solid or liquid diet. Now Ayurveda there, with the practices mentioned, we had to go with certain practices like Irimeda di Taila for oil pulling in the mouth, and some combinations of medicines for washing the mouth, mouthwash as a mouthwash, some combinations as powder applications over the lesions in the mouth. And we had told the patient to come back in 15 to 20 days. Now, 15 to 20 days, the patient did not turn up. We were shocked because we actually waited for him. We did not see him. Now we thought, okay, maybe the patient is not finding any effect. Maybe that is the reason. Another 20 days later, the patient came back to us, and we were very surprised to see that the mouth was completely all right. This was a precancerous lesion. We could see that. And the patient had a very healthy mouth when he came back. One thing is that the preventive part, he did do the prevention. He stopped the practice. That is the main important issue. And then the practices which we mentioned and the diet protocol which we mentioned, he did practice very properly, and thereby we could see that the change was there. So Ayurveda stresses upon the prevention part, and there are certain practices mentioned as dinacharya and ritucharya which can be followed, which also mentions about danta dhavana. One small example is that Ayurveda does not say cleaning your mouth with anything which is sweet. It talks about sour stuff for cleansing because it increases the salivary system. The cleansing happens faster. So if you see these days, you have toothpaste which are sweet, but we also see other toothpaste coming up. Example is toothpaste with salt and all that. So we see that such practices are coming into the mainstream, and there are very good companies also coming up with Ayurvedic products for oral hygiene. I don't need to mention anybody in particular. We all know. So that is also happening. We are also coming up with some solutions for the dental issue. Rather than just products, we need to give a solution. So Interdent is doing that part of giving a solution to the public. So that is what I'd like to add. Also, Dr. Vaibhavi, I think there are a few questions which I can put forth. Shall I start with the questions?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question I have is in my mobile phone. Somebody has sent it to me. How to manage gum bleeding and yellow color changes in teeth in Ayurvedic approach is the first question. Again, we have cleansing of the mouth. There are practices in dinacharya which has been mentioned. The cleansing happens with the type of the brush used is also mentioned in the dinacharya. So earlier in my sessions on dinacharya, I had mentioned on that. So this, I think, is a question from an Ayurvedic doctor. So the next question is why and how gaps in between the teeth are formed. So that I think is directed to you, Dr. Vaibhavi.
Yeah. So for the earlier question, if I may add a point, when there is bleeding from the gums, there is an integrative approach where there are whatever yellowish deposits are formed around the teeth, which contain lots of germs and microbes, which if not treated can become severe, have to be removed with from allopathy dentist. But the problem is that the gum bleeding is a recurrent thing which keeps coming in again and again, and we have only that cleaning of the teeth is the only sure short way of controlling the bleeding at that particular point of time. But when we integrate with Ayurveda, after removing or before removing the deposits around the teeth, with the Ayurveda host modulatory actions, the recurrence of bleeding is stopped completely. So once the health of the gums, which is achieved by cleaning, that health is preserved for a long period of time with Ayurveda. That is the main benefit we have by integration. Otherwise, the patients have to keep coming every 3 months with the bleeding again, and we keep cleaning the teeth again and again. So now you understand why there should be integration. Because otherwise, if you do the half the thing and other half is not done, patient may not benefit completely. So that is one part. The gaps, why there are gaps caused. With the question, what I realized that the gaps were not there before, and now they are caused. So generally, the teeth, when they are aligned properly, they are touching each other, and when we chew the food, they touch the upper teeth, touch the lower teeth. So that when we keep our mouth closed, the lips will put a seal where the teeth cannot go wherever they feel like, move wherever they feel like. On the sides, they can't move because there are cheeks, and up and down they cannot move because there are opposing teeth. Sideways, they cannot move because they are touching the other teeth. So either if one or two teeth are missing and the gaps are produced in the mouth, or if the bone support goes down because of the gum infection, the gaps open up between the teeth. So these are two main important reasons why the gaps appear between the teeth, which was not there before. How to treat them? Again, it is with the cause. If the cause is the unreplaced missing area where the tooth was there before, we got it removed and it was not replaced by the artificial tooth. So that gap should be filled up by the artificial tooth. Now you have lots of options available like implants or bridges or dentures and things like that. If the gaps are happening because of the bone support getting lost, that is due to gum infection, there that has to be treated with the integration, where the Ayurveda handles the medicinal management and the allopathy periodontist or the gum specialist handles the lost bone or lost gum tissues or diseased gum tissues and brings them back to health. I hope I've answered the question. Next question,
So,
please.
so actually adding to that point, I keep on saying about prevention, prevention, prevention. But one example of that mentioned in our text in Ashtanga Hridaya is that we have mentioned certain herbs which are also healing in nature. So not only just prevention, when there is such a lesion, there can be healing. Some herbs are Arkanyagrodha Khadira Karanja Kakubadikam, Kaninyagra Samastaulyam, Supurcham, Dwadashangulam. It also talks about the dimensions of the toothbrush which needs to be used. So Dwadasha Angula, that is 12 angulas in length, Supurcham, it should not be sharp that hurts the gums, but it should be well ended in such a way that it goes narrow and clears things out. So that is there, and it also mentions about cleaning the teeth after every food. Pratar bhuktvacha mridvagram kashaya katu tiktakam. So it talks about also cleaning the teeth in the morning as well as the night, as well as each time you have food. I think this has been mentioned by all our dental specialists to people, and still people don't practice it. So that is also there. Prevention happens well. If this is done very properly, you will not be with dental diseases.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, shall I go to the next question?
Yes, please.
The next question is helpful tips regarding dental health during pregnancy.
Okay. So nowadays all the pregnancies are planned. So I assume that whoever is listening to this will look into it. So once you're planning your pregnancy, before you conceive, you have to get your mouth checked. And if there are any unsolved dental problems, you have to get it solved. Next 9 months and a few months after delivery are very crucial that you don't develop any dental issues, because during the pregnancies most of the antibiotics and painkillers are not allowed because they have a adverse effect on the baby. And the next is after the delivery till the mother is feeding, during that time also it is not advisable. And also the dental procedures are contraindicated during the pregnancy in general. Very few things we can do. So it is a big limitation for allopathy dentists. So I would suggest that once you conceive, you should get a Ayurveda Shalakya opinion about how to maintain your oral health till delivery and few months after the delivery. Because once you go into Ayurveda maintenance therapy or protocols, it will be very, very helpful to you and to the dentist who is looking after your dental care, so that we will both, I mean, the patient and the dentist do not come across a situation where the dentist cannot help you and you cannot go to the dentist or get the treatment done because you're pregnant. So I cannot, I mean, I can give few general tips about oil pooling and things, those kind of stuff. But since Ayurveda is very individualistic, customized protocol, depending upon your prakriti or the unsolved dental conditions in your mouth, it is very advisable that an individualized protocol is made for you by a expert Shalakya doctor before, during, and after the pregnancy. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next question is a generalized question for which I have got an answer as well. Is it a good idea to do gargle and mouthwash with saline water daily? I got an answer from one dental specialist, Dr. Pugar. I am very happy to have him here. He also has answered for that question. Use warm water with salt for better results. So that I agree very well, doctor.
Yes.
Thank you for that advice as well.
I agree too.
Anything specific
I
you
don't
have to?
have anything to add. Yes. Yes.
So that is what all our sciences talk about. Warm water and salt is something which is very good. It is also anti-inflammatory in nature. We also do that for other conditions, including your tonsillitis.
Only thing is, if you have swelling anywhere in your mouth, don't do it. Without consulting a dental surgeon. Otherwise, it's fine. Yes. Sometimes we don't realize that the warm water is too warm, or sometimes on the hotter side, and that triggers the inflammatory reactions, and it may aggravate the swellings which you have in the mouth. So if you have any swelling or pain in the mouth, then better to get it checked. And then otherwise, as a preventive measure, yes, you can go ahead. Yeah. Next
Another
question.
question I have is any Ayurveda treatment for early childhood caries? So there I'd like to pitch in that prevention is better than cure always. So childhood caries, you can always go for the prevention aspect. You teach good oral hygiene to the child right from the start. So thereby this does not happen. So the next line of that sloka which I was mentioning, Pratar Mridurgaram Kashaya Katatiktakam Bakshayet Danta Davanam Danta Mamsanya Badayan. So without hurting your danta mamsa, that is the gums, that brushing should be done very properly and cleaning should be done very properly. So that is also mentioned. So I think if oral hygiene is advised properly and it is practiced by the children, that would be great. One thing. Dr. Vaibhavi, please add to that.
Yeah, see, early childhood caries, as I mentioned, the course which we are conducting for dentists, one of the pedodontists had raised the exact same question, that nowadays it is also possible that the first deciduous tooth, milk tooth coming in the mouth, the moment it comes out in the mouth, it is decayed. So that the child is hardly 6-7 months, maximum 8 months. So what can you tell them to do, when the oral hygiene maintenance, and how do we prevent this? Can Ayurveda help? So this is what we had. I think Dr. Girish was also there, part of that team. What we were going into is that whenever the patient is whenever the baby is still in the breastfeeding or the nursing, then the mother's food habits and lifestyle habits make a big contribution to the quality of the milk, the pH of the milk, and the oral environment of the infant. And since the baby or infant cannot be doing the oral hygiene by themselves or by the parents in and this early, just by telling them don't give them milk in the night, or don't because we have these baby bottle caries and things, those kind of conditions where all the front teeth which appear at 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, they all get decayed. And we say that you have to make sure that the milk is the feeding the milk is properly handled, but that doesn't solve the problem. So the Ayurveda is the only health science which works on the Vata Pitta Kapha principles, and it has been shown that the bacteria which are responsible to produce dental cavities uh, flourish in only certain individuals, certain babies, certain infants, certain age groups, or certain type of mouth. And as allopathy people, we are not able to figure it out that the Streptococcus strains, which are the normal inhabitants of our mouth, how can they become so aggressive and start producing cavities in certain mouths? The answer lies with the Ayurveda specialists who look at them from Vata Pitta Kapha and look at them from the changes in the diet, lifestyle, and ritu or season or changes during the day. So accordingly, they can give certain Ayurveda preventive tips to the mother. And it is still early to say that it will definitely have very good results. But I would like to encourage anybody who is, from the allopathy side, who would like to work on this. There are huge potential in exploring this phenomenon where changing or altering the diet and lifestyle of the mother, Ayurveda perspective, not the diet as allopathy doctors we perceive diet. No, that diet is very different than the Ayurveda looks at the diet. So the Ayurveda way of changing the diet, modification of diet and lifestyle, whether that has any influence on infant or early childhood caries. I'm sure Ayurveda will have, but again, it is individualized, so there cannot be one size fits all kind of general instructions which need to be given to everybody. When it comes to Ayurveda, that child, that infant has to be seen, the mother has to be seen, and then they will have their own diagnosis and treatment plan. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. There is a comment from my sir. Breakthrough webinar for interdental approach. Thank you so much, sir. Dheeraj sir is the person leading the dental OPD in SDM College of Ayurveda, Hassan. Then we have another question. Gingivitis, if untreated, leads to periodontitis. How to manage that condition?
Okay, I think we approached the answer of this initially itself. When it is in the gingivitis level, we can very well cure it completely, like totally reversible. But the only problem with gingivitis is recurrence. It will happen, then again it will happen. So this recurrence has to be handled only with Ayurveda, because none of our mouthwashes can be given for long period of time, which can prevent the bleeding gums or prevent the gingivitis from occurring again. If we can prevent the gingivitis from turning into periodontitis, then prevention is the only thing which will keep the mouth healthy for a longer period of time. The moment it becomes periodontitis, we can still maintain it with Ayurveda, but it will be a compromised maintenance, because periodontal diseases, once they start destroying the gums and the bone, there is never complete regeneration. There is never complete 100% reversal. So whatever we achieve by arresting the disease, that is that health is maintained with Ayurveda. But I also heard during my IM healthcare tenure that there are medicines in Ayurveda which promotes the bone growth. So if some research can be done on that, whether the bone which is lost due to gum infection can be restored back to 100% through Ayurveda medicines, that would be a big breakthrough. But as of now, we would concentrate on maintaining the periodontal or gingival health with Ayurveda after the periodontal treatment is done. And during the periodontal treatment, which is done by a periodontist, the antibiotics, painkillers, and chemical mouthwash can be avoided by incorporating Ayurveda. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is how to identify herpes infection on oral cavity. What are the treatment methods which should be adopted?
Okay, so herpes simplex infections come as multiple minor ulcers. And basically, they have affinity towards the hard structures, that is the gums and the hard palate. Sometimes they also appear on the lips and other parts of the oral cavity. Very painful, and they are generally seen as a prodromal symptoms. People will feel fatigue, feverish, lethargy, those kind of symptoms, like viral fever kind of symptoms. And after 2 or 3 days, there will be like small boils which appear in the mouth. and then they rupture and they become ulcers, which are extremely painful. And sometimes it goes from the hard palate onto the soft palate and into the esophageal tract also. Depending upon how immunocompromised the patient is, the herpes infection can be there in other parts of the body also. So generally within 14 to 21 days, the patients come back to normal, but during that time we treat them symptomatically. We just manage the pain and suffering so that the patient can eat or drink certain things. And so many times the antivirals are also prescribed, which will help patients getting better faster. But these viral infections again have this tendency to, the viruses have tendency to lay dormant in the body. They'll be in the sleeping mode. And then again, the immune system go down due to any other problems, either stress or physical exertion or some other systemic diseases. The viruses again become powerful and again come in the mouth. So the recurrence is a very big problem in allopathy in treating herpes infections. Once you start on the Ayurveda medicines, the recurrence stops, and the immunomodulatory properties of Ayurveda medicines make the immune system of the patient very strong. That is how the recurrence is stopped. And the oil and other medications which are with ghee and oil, which help soothing the pain and burning and suffering of the patient. So this way, the nothing much the allopathy dentist can contribute when it is herpes infection, but Ayurveda physicians can make a big difference here. Yeah.
The I can add to that, the immune system can also be improved with certain immunomodulatory medications along with the treatment for the oral condition.
Yes.
So that can
See,
also be done
Ayurveda
depending on the
treatment,
prakriti of the
yeah.
patient.
Yeah, Ayurveda treatment is never confined to just oral cavity. I have seen over a period of time now, last 3 years, that they always have few things to be prescribed: internal medicines, local applications, gargling or massaging, fomentation, that is taking the smoke, and also nasya, the medicated drops in the nose. So the combinations vary according to the severity and the type of condition, but it is never one single medicine for one single disease in Ayurveda. Yes, you're right.
So nasya is mainly done for such conditions because nasahi shirasodvaram, that is the
Yes.
opening for the head. So most of the treatment protocols for many things in your face or your head, nasya is an imperative and a very strong way of treatment. We have another question here. Any specific remedy for issues faced during eruption of wisdom teeth? This question is put forward by Dr. Shrikant K, who is also equivalently like my teacher. He is the manager scientific services, national manager scientific services for the Himalaya Drug Company. I welcome you here, sir. So
Yes.
that is the question that he has. Any specific remedy for issues faced during eruption of wisdom teeth?
Yeah, nowadays we don't see the wisdom teeth erupting at all. Either they're locked with the second molars or in the deep inside the jaw bone, and people find it very, very difficult. So all the Ayurveda doctors would definitely know that in Ayurveda Samhitas, it was mentioned a few thousand years ago that the number of deciduous teeth are 24. And nowadays we see only 20. That means the 4 teeth over a period of evolution of human race where the diets and things like changed. From 24 we have come to 20. Now this is exactly the phenomenon which we see now, we dentists see now for the past 15-20 years, that most of the mouths, jaws cannot accommodate 32 teeth. So there are only 28 teeth and the other 4 are somewhere impacted, and it's very painful when they are trying to come out. Most of the time there'll be no space. And nowadays we also see that the tooth germ itself, the bud itself, is absent in the jaw. That means the person will never have a wisdom tooth at all. So this is something like a revelation. It's part of evolution, or I don't know what. But coming to your problems during eruption, First is, as I told you, if there is no space in the jaw or if the tooth is buried deep in the bone, it is never going to come out naturally or never going to serve the function or the purpose of chewing. So if that is the diagnosis, then the best way is to remove those teeth. If there is a space in the jaw and it's just the regular difficulty about eruption, like a skin or a gum over the erupting tooth, and a patient is not able to clean it between the two, and there is a food and everything stuck there, and there is pain and swelling, then any dentist can just make a cut onto the skin or the gum to facilitate the eruption. And in allopathy, we really don't have anything other than mouthwash or keeping it clean or keep cleaning those area. But I'm sure if the patient has a potential of the wisdom tooth erupting in the mouth, then if you put them on Ayurveda medications of oil pulling and whatever other remedies suggested by them, the ease of eruption can be facilitated only if there is a space in the jaw. This is very crucial because any wisdom tooth you put them on the Ayurveda medications, if the space is not there, nothing the Ayurveda medications do about it. And nothing the Ayurveda medications do about increasing the size of the jaw so that it can accommodate the, four additional wisdom teeth. So the diagnosis of why there is problem due to, during the eruption of the third molar is very, very crucial in deciding whether it can be handled through surgically through allopathy doctor or through Ayurveda doctor to ease the eruption. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. To that, I'd like to also add. Now, Ayurveda there works in one other way as a pain relief mechanism. There is one practice which is usually practiced. I have also practiced that in IAM. So that is called as Guda Agni Karma, which is a temporary practice. Temporary pain relief happens with that practice, and until you go to the dentist who can remove the teeth or whatever is needed particularly for that. So Guda Agni Karma works as a pain relief mechanism which can be done, which is mentioned in our texts in Ayurveda.
Yes.
Then we have the next question, ma'am. Does removal of teeth in any pathological condition and before fitting braces are advisable?
Sorry, can you
I think
repeat the question?
patient
You
is,
are-
I think the person is asking if removing of the teeth before fitting braces or any particular pathological condition, is it necessary and advisable?
Most of the time the braces are put because the teeth are crooked. They are not aligned in a proper position in the jaw where generally it should have been. And the causes or reasons for that are multiple. Starting from the problems with the jaw or the growth of the jaw or how they are, positioned in relation to each other, the upper and lower jaw, to the habits like, thumb sucking, and so many reasons are there why the teeth are not aligned properly. And if because of that, if the space discrepancy is there, where the teeth do not have proper space to align themselves, then an orthodontist has to create a space. So they create the space by removing the premolars on the sides so that you retain the molars or the grinding teeth, which are the main teeth, and you also retain your front teeth for aesthetics and proper functional requirements. So if that is the case, then it is up to the orthodontist to decide, diagnose the condition and decide what needs to be done. And if the part of that therapy is to remove some teeth to create space, then it has to be done. It is very commonly done, and they have a proper measurements and proper diagnostic tools to help them figure out which tooth to be removed and why. So it's nothing to do with the pathological condition, but if the teeth are not aligned properly and if you want it to be aligned, then those are some of the things which may have to be done. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is specialized dental care in diabetic conditions. One. The second question is there an accepted standardized Ayurvedic toothbrush? This question is put forward by Dr. Sukumar Varia, who is the head of Kottakkal Ayurveda Shala branch, Trivandrum.
Okay. So Ayurvedic toothbrush, is it?
Yeah, is there any accepted? I would like to add that he is also my father-in-law. Is there an accepted standardized Ayurvedic toothbrush? Is one question. The earlier question is specialized dental care and diabetic conditions.
Yes. See, diabetes is one condition which is directly linked to the wrong diet and lifestyle habits and stress or any other similar emotional conditions which can cause imbalance in the body. When it comes to the mouth, there are two-way relationships suggested, wherein if there is already a gum infection, it will exacerbate or it will complicate the diabetic status of a patient. That means it will increase the glucose tolerance or insulin resistance of the patient. In other words, the patient need to take higher doses of anti-diabetic medicines to control the blood sugar levels because there is an untreated infection in the form of gum infection in the body. So this is one way. Another way is because there is uncontrolled diabetes, uh, the bacteria or the infection in the mouth gets aggravated, and you see a lot of abscesses in the on the gums and rapid progression of gum disease or gum infection because of uncontrolled diabetes. And there is a third, a very recent hypothesis, recent in the sense maybe in the last 5-10 years, is that the people who have diabetes or people who have recurrent gum infections or people who have heart problems, rheumatoid arthritis, they share a common risk factor called hyperinflammatory phenotypes or hyperinflammatory gene expressions. Because of that, the manifestations are in the form of diabetes or gum disease or XYZ other conditions. When these kind of complicated or complex situation arises, where multiple manifestations happen in the body because of the hyperinflammatory status, the Ayurveda can help a lot because with our reductionist approach, we cannot connect the dots. Now we are connecting this link, but we still don't have the immunomodulatory medicines which can control the gum infection on one side, the diabetes on the other side, and the heart disease on the third side. So in when it comes to Ayurveda, they have the generally the rasayana and other medicines which are internally taken. Also, they go with the virechana because most of the time there are pitta problems with diabetes and gum infection. I'm not the expert on this, but generally they go with rasayana, virechana, and local applications. Definitely oil pulling, which should be combined with a regular cleaning of the teeth, and of course the diet modification and lifestyle modification which the Ayurveda physician suggests. So with all these comprehensive management, we would be able to minimize the damage which happens to the mouth because of the uncontrolled diabetes and vice versa. So I hope I have been able to answer the question. Dr. Girish, would you like to add anything for this? Okay, before that, let me answer the Ayurveda toothbrush. Ayurveda toothbrush,
Yeah.
I am not the person. See, there are organic toothbrushes and there are bamboo toothbrushes, and if you are talking about herbal or natural toothbrushes, which are already there, but for that matter, even the regular toothbrushes are inert. So they, if the brushing is done properly, it doesn't matter whether it is done with the bamboo or whether it's done with the plastic toothbrush. But if we are going in the Ayurveda, there are the whole sticks of the Datun concept, which is customized according to the prakriti of the patient, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, whether it is Khadira or it is Neem or which one to be used. So that is very detailed description given, and that could be the best choice or option with the toothbrush. There are now evidence or the articles available where they have compared the regular toothbrushing with the neem uh, datun, neem to stick. And they have seen the microbiological and other aspects. And the conclusion of the article is the neem datun, or the stick, is much better because of the bitter juice which comes out of the neem while doing the chewing the datun. It works as a bacteriostatic or bactericidal and kills the germs in the mouth, which the regular toothbrush and toothpaste may not be able to do. The regular toothpaste just physically, mechanically removes the bacteria. They don't kill the bacteria. And it is already proven that when a person brushes, not the entire plaque or not the entire deposit of the germs go away. Certain things still remain. So in that case, when the neem datun is used instead of brushing, the bitter juice which comes out of the neem is more effective. So I think we need more research on these directions, but this definitely makes sense to me.
Yes, I agree with that, ma'am. So I think there should be more research, and companies should come up with such products. But again, the problem is it should be dependent
Don't
on the
add
prakriti of the
sugar.
patient.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
also there. Not
True.
to
If
add
a
sugar.
Vata Prakriti person starts chewing the neem stick, then it will have bigger problem. You're right. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So such specific things should come out. The next question is: a person with polyarthralgia being affected with pemphigus vulgaris, what would be the best advice in such cases?
Nothing from allopathy. The whole thing should be from Ayurveda. That's my advice.
Here, I
Because
think
none of the autoimmune conditions respond well with whatever in allopathy we have. There are steroids and whole lot of other medicines given, but they are not effective and they temporarily suppress, and there is a huge rebound effect and a lot of toxicity associated with it. So when any of the mucosal conditions, whether they're autoimmune or otherwise, I just say that, sorry, I will not do anything. Everything will be done by my Shalakya colleague. So that's the best thing.
thank you so much, ma'am, for that. The thing is, yes, in polyarthralgia as well as pemphigus associated with pemphigus vulgaris. Again, one thing is it's not very common. The second thing is being autoimmune. There are certain lines of treatment prescribed for the whole body in Ayurveda, including Rasayana, not just Rasayana.
Correct.
Cleansing is also the then Rasayana is. Again, Ayurveda does not state that it can completely cure the system. It can actually
Yes.
maintain the system and
Yes.
improve the condition of the patient. That is one thing. And when there is a skin related approach in case of pemphigus vulgaris, that also needs a separate line of treatment.
Yes.
So this is a complex line of treatment which should be put forth looking at the patient,
Correct.
seeing the prakriti as well as the vikriti there, the dosha vikriti, that
Yes.
or the predominance of the dosha which is present there, and according to the situation, the condition with which he is presenting. Because on different severe level, moderate level, each person will have different conditions,
Correct.
presentations. So
Correct.
that according to that, the treatment is done.
Yes. Yes.
I think there are some good comments that the session is very nice. Then
Thank you.
we have one question. During the current time of COVID-19, is it advisable to schedule a dentist appointment for preventive treatment such as tooth cleaning? If not, are there any alternative techniques that Ayurveda can suggest till the pandemic is over?
All my patients for the past 10 months are only on Ayurveda medicines. And I keep asking them to send the photographs, and none of them have developed the bleeding gums again or the problems again, whether it is bad smell from the mouth or sensitivity or bleeding. So these are the conditions which require regular cleaning. None of them are on that, and they're all fine because they're all on Ayurveda medicines. So if you have access to a regular dental care, and if that is what you want, you are most welcome to continue the practice of once in 3 months or 6 months or whatever your dentist suggests, the tooth cleaning. But if because of COVID, if it is not advisable to go, then it is very much possible to maintain your dental health by Ayurveda preventive care. Only thing is you have to take a proper consultation from a Ayurveda expert. He will customize and make a individualized protocol for you to maintain your dental health or gum health. There is one more development here, because we say that the in the mouth some bacteria live permanently, and which are those bacteria? There is a mutual benefit. They help in maintaining the health. They prevent the bad bacteria to come in the mouth and produce disease. So they protect our teeth and gums. They are called commensals. Regular, even if you remove with a dental instruments or brush, they come back, and they are sort of like mutual benefit scheme going on in the mouth. So when we keep removing those, they are the ones who don't allow the bad ones to come. The moment we keep removing them, it may be possible that the bad ones get entry inside the mouth. So how regularly to clean by a dentist is also now questioned, because the symbiotic relationship of dental flora, or we call it oral microbiome, with the oral health and in general the general health is very well established. So whether we should remove them just because we can't pinpoint the bad ones and weed them out, or we should keep those normal commensals, normal symbiotic oral microbiome in healthy conditions so that the bad ones don't enter. So there are lots of debates going on, a lot of research going on, but I think it makes sense that preventive Ayurveda maintenance protocol, if it is uh, started by any patient during this COVID-19 or even otherwise, your regular visits to dentist for tooth cleaning will reduce. 100% it will reduce. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next question is, okay, it has a comment as well. Very useful session. Thank you, ma'am. I have question regarding leukoplakia on gums. Please enlighten about the management.
Again, see, in allopathy we are very used to one single management, one antibiotic for everything, one painkiller for everything, one gel for everything. So it is not possible. As I told you, two patients of leukoplakia, the Ayurveda medicines will be different. Two patients of leukoplakia, I will have only one gel to give them if there is burning. If there is no burning, they will not even bother. So in Ayurveda, you cannot have one single medicine for all leukoplakia patients, or one single medicine for all gum infection or periodontal cases. Most of the time, the research project which we have taken up has 21 cases who have leukoplakia, lichen planus, and oral submucous fibrosis. They are all on Ayurveda medications, but it's not one medication or one management. It has as I told you, the protocol has the Virechana, it has a Pratisarana, it has Gandusha, it has a fomentation, that is the smoking, what you call, the pottery kind of thing, which the, fomentation. So, and they also have Rasayana in the form of internal medicine. But what all those treatments will constitute, which ingredients it will have, that is decided by the Ayurveda doctor. So this individualized, until and unless we understand why they go for individualized, and why going with the generalized management is not giving us efficient and durable results. This can only happen when we understand their way of diagnosing a condition through prakriti, through vikriti, through dosha prakopa, and all other diet and lifestyle problems. So if there are the dental doctors here, I would really request, you please take up this course of integrative dentistry. It will be very useful for your dental practice, because it helps us focusing our all our diagnostic capabilities to the localized lesion in the mouth, to what is going wrong in the body, which is producing the leukoplakia in a particular patient. There are if there are 100 patients chewing tobacco, there will be hardly few who will develop leukoplakia. So why the others are not developing is the question the Ayurveda physician asks, because the Ayurveda is focused towards the host, towards the patient. So when I will ask which bacteria is causing the gum infection, they will ask why this patient is getting the infection and then next is the other is not. Similarly, the patients having precancerous conditions like leukoplakia or OSMF, 1 to 7% of them convert into oral cancer. The rest do not. So when we start thinking about why the others are not progressing, that is where we need to look inside the systems. What is it that is preventing the conversion from leukoplakia to oral cancer? And as a dentist, I cannot answer, but the Ayurveda doctor can answer through their Tridosha theory and so many other concepts. So I think there is no general one management, Ayurveda management of leukoplakia, not for leukoplakia, for any condition, even for dental caries. There'll be no one size fit all kind of solutions from Ayurveda. It will always be individualized and always contain not only the medicine. It will always contain diet modification, lifestyle modification, and then medicine. So if you think that you will take only medicine and the rest other things you will keep on doing the same as before and not do the modifications, the efficacy of the Ayurveda management will come down drastically.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think with that, we come to the end of the session of question answers. I would like to request humbly Dr. Dheeraj BC sir for a comment from his side because he is the Ayurvedic dentist I saw first and I learned from him. So I would like to ask Dr. Dheeraj BC sir to add something which is in his mind, sir.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Girish, I'm very happy to be part of this webinar, and
Thank you, sir.
I congratulate Dr. Vaibhavi Joshipur
sir.
for giving an enlightening talk on interdental approach to the orodental problems. So, as Girish said, we deal with the orodental problems in our hospital in SDM College of Ayurveda, Hassan. And we have in Shalakya department, we have 3 OPDs actually. This is the first institution to have 3 OPDs for Shalakya department. And the one of the OPDs are exclusively for orodental problems.
Yes.
So we treat, as Vaibhavi madam said, we treat the patients based on the prakritis, based on the dosha vitiation, and there is no single medicine or single remedy for a disease. For example, leukoplakia occurring in a vata prakriti person and leukoplakia occurring in a kapha prakriti person, the approach will be different in Ayurveda.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm very glad that Vaibhavi madam has catch this point of Ayurveda and a periodontist talking in Ayurveda language. So I'm very happy to hear
Sir,
this.
I have visited your institution with Dr. Neelambika of Shalya
Oh.
department in our IM Healthcare.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Neelambika is my junior.
Yes,
Immediate
yes.
junior. Yes.
So, yeah.
When
So,
you visited, madam? When was it?
institute. Sorry?
When was it? How many days back? you had it?
2017, I guess. Yeah,
Acha, acha.
2017, I think. Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay. So it's very good to hear and see the interdental approach. And my student, Dr. Girish, involved in this interdental approach. And you can take my help anytime
Sure.
for this
Thank
noble
you,
cause.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So there is one comment from our MD, Mr. TVS Warrior. Dr. Vaibhavi, your presentation was superb and enlightening. I'm sure that all the participants must have had knowledge additions today evening. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. Ashtanga is honored. As well as a comment from Dr. Srikant K. Very nice session on integrated approach to Dr. Girish for extending me the invite. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Dr. TV Narayana Warrior, our medical superintendent, to put in a few words.
Happy to see you all. We are very grateful to Dr. Vaibhavi because she has given a very good presentation as well as she has given full support to our system.
Yes.
And by the way, some points of what I want to give, because we were taught about the oral hygiene in our college days, but those things were not, that's Ayurvedic view is not given to the public. Still,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
the patients are coming. I have got experience with those who believe in me, but though so many patients are without telling us going to the allopathic dentist doctors. I'm not blaming them anybody, but they don't know what we are having.
Yes.
So there must be some way to spread this message with the support of allopathic doctors.
Sir, from my side, I've started a humble, with a humble beginning. I go to dental colleges and I conduct CDA programs about how Ayurveda can be integrated in their mainstream practice. And I also request them to start some research projects. And also for the general public, this course on integrative dentistry is there. 10 hours, anybody can take that course. Also, the similar 10 hours course for the dentist is also designed. What I need is, more and more support from people who can suggest, and this is like very reasonably priced because this is not for money. So anyone can take this course, and for them and their family and relatives and friends, they have a clear indication about when to go to a dentist, what all to expect from allopathy treatment, what all could be their limitations. Because I've seen patients blaming dentists that, every time I come and you don't do treatment properly so that my bleeding gum started again, and nothing a dentist can do. So it is also very crucial that public in general know about it. Now, this can only be done on social media awareness campaigns or programs, and at the institution level, also it can be done. Now, the problem I find here is there are so many dentists who are willing to go for it, but there are not many Shalakya doctors who have dental experiences and expertise, because many Shalakya, many Ayurveda colleges do not have Shalakya with dental facilities. They basically focus on ophthalmology. So that if we have to make it work, there it has to be handled through many factors, which will all plug in together and finish a piece of a puzzle. So more and more Ayurveda colleges, if they involve dentistry in their Shalakya department, and for that I'm ready to go to any Ayurveda college, give my expertise in whatever way it can, and through their general practice, if they can also spread this, although they may do general practice, there is no issue with that, but something like this integration which can be done. I will try my best through allopathy side by going to dental colleges, going to conferences, dental conferences, going to Indian Dental Association or some such bodies which are ready to listen to me. But my problem is everybody is asking me to produce scientific evidence. So there is no scientific evidence as of now for integrating the two. I have some 40 patients of mine whom I have treated with periodontal disease who are under Ayurveda care. But this is just one person doing something. There have to be scientific evidence generated from many points, focal points in India and abroad, to have a conclusive evidence about how to integrate the two, or how the Ayurveda is effective, affordable, durable. So without the scientific evidence, they will not. Or without any dentist who is not convinced till his own patients start showing positive results by integration of Ayurveda, it becomes very difficult. Also, I would like to add some regulatory and statutory limitations here. What happens is, in any dental clinic, suppose they have to take a license to practice allopathy, and so many states do not allow dual, both Ayurveda and allopathy being practiced in a single clinic. They want separate clinics, separate space, separate things. These are statutory and regulatory issues. If they go for NABH accreditation of their clinic, the rules are even more stringent. Also, we do not have scientific evidence about synergistic or antagonistic effects of allopathy and Ayurveda medicines taken together by a patient. Because today he'll start antibiotic, tomorrow he will start Ayurveda, they'll do whatever they feel like, they'll take old prescriptions, they'll do whole kind of nonsense there. And suppose if there is a medico legal issue, then how do we clearly demarcate the possible side effects or toxic effects happen because of the overzealous use of or wrong use of Ayurveda medicines or self-medication by patient or through allopathy? So some people who are policymakers need to listen to this and give their inputs or insights to people like us who really sincerely want to integrate Ayurveda into mainstream dental practice. So I do not want to keep complaining about it, but I'm sure, so many people here, they can give me all kinds of suggestions, and I'm open to anything, and I'll do everything possible in my power to do it by way of increasing awareness of Ayurveda in mainstream dental practice.
Hope your support will give more
Thank
better
you, sir.
results. And
Thank
further, what I have seen that ulcer, that is a peptic ulcer or acidity, hyperacidity is a main problem due to the present almost past 30 years of that is the food system,
Yes.
which is giving more problem to this oral hygiene as well as the one thing, another thing is diabetes as well as arthritis,
Yes, sir.
more chronic. This
Yes.
so whoever they are coming with this arthritis or diabetes, they have to be very careful with oral hygiene. That
Correct.
we have to be very careful to suggest all the Indian food measures.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam, for your.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Actually, in that aspect, ma'am, actually, SDM College of Ayurveda Hassan has been into this integrative approach for a long time. That is why I
Okay.
was not shying away from this when you proposed this. It is
Yes.
mainly due to Dheeraj sir as well as the whole of the Shalakya team teachers,
Correct.
Dr.
Correct.
Amarnath H. Dr. Abhijit H. and Dr. Ashwini MJ. The
Hmm.
department there is very good, and we have a dental college in Hassan who sends students there
Yes.
for
Yes.
internships, and thereby there is a
Correct. Correct.
knowledge sharing happens.
Sharing.
So I think, and we also go to them when we need some expert approach or something like that. So
I think this.
I have been fortunate to be a part of
Yes.
SDM's institute
Yes.
as well as a student of Dheeraj sir.
The similar thing is how used to happen. I don't know about now, but it has been happening for a long period of time between Government Ayurveda College Bangalore and Government Dental College Bangalore. So there are the Ayurveda Shalakya PG students are posted in Government Dental College. So it's always beneficial because the Ayurveda doctors know so much about allopathy dentistry or allopathy in general, the pharmacology, the anatomy, physiology, because it is in their syllabus, and also they learn through their internships or their postings. But we are not that privileged, from allopathy sides, nobody is taking any initiative to post dental students into Ayurveda colleges, which would be so much beneficial, or even, a small introductory course of what is Ayurveda, a simple thing, because as medical people, it doesn't take much effort to understand how the Ayurveda looks at health and disease. But it makes a big difference when people like me talk about integration. If the audience, dentists, they know about what Ayurveda is. So actually, I was proposing this course on integrative dentistry, which has 10 hours module. It could be one of the elective online courses in Ayurveda colleges, in dental colleges, or in medical colleges, because they have a lot of electives now. The new revamp education policy is revamping the medical education also. And the medical doctors during their medical Ayurveda and dental doctors during their first, second, and third years have to do some elective courses on various different topics which are generally selected by the university and the college. So if these kind of integrative courses are started in these colleges, which could be online, which will create a next entire generation of dental surgeons and Ayurveda doctors who do not mind working with each other as a team with more understanding, mutual understanding. Yeah. So
So I think we can come to the end of the session. I would ask our MD, Mr. TVS Warrior, to give a few comments.
As I said, Dr. Vaibhavi, it was really a very great session. I'm
Thank you.
sure all the people who were there participating and people who already left, they all gained something today evening. And I'm sure the integration of the allopathic versus with the Ayurveda, it will surely help the patients. You know, our concern
Yes.
has to be more for the
Yes.
patients into the, you know, not the ego of one system with the other. I think the patient's care is of utmost concern. Thank you very much for spending a lot of time with our participants. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I would ask our Executive Director, Mr. T.R. Shashi Warrior, to put in a few words.
An awesome session. I was listening to you, every word that you spoke, and it was so revealing that we are able to, even a layman like me is able to take a lot of things away from you,
Yes.
to learn a lot of things from. I think our MD has already put it in our group that all our doctors to do your course. So it's coming.
Oh,
So
great.
we are definitely going to make them do this course, and most of them are here. They must be listening to this, what I'm saying. So they're going to do your course, and they're going to get a lot of ideas about what dentistry is all about, and we will have to definitely take this up in our own clinics.
Yes, sir.
How to approach dentistry in a different way. I'm sure
Sure.
we are going to do this. Thank you very much for having taken time off from your very busy schedule. I know you have a very busy schedule, and thank you very much for coming in the evening and enlightening us with all this. Thank you. Thank you.
So with that, we come to the end of the session. I would like to thank all the participants here for being a part of this session. Thank you for being present, listening patiently, and putting questions, and making this a very interesting and interactive session. I would like to thank Dr. Vaibhavi for being here and spending her time with us.
Thank you
I
all.
think Ashtanga is very proud to work with Interdent Healthcare, as I'm already part of the Interdent team as well as
Yes.
Ashtanga's team. So we feel proud to be a part of the Interdent team. This is
Yeah.
how Ayurveda can be also propagated,
Yes.
because that is where there is a lacking.
Yes.
I think there is a comment from Lisette. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Vaibhavi. This was a very high
Thank
quality
you, Sridhar.
presentation. Thank you for expanding my knowledge. I would like to add that Lisette, Miss Lisette Jeers is actually from Netherlands.
Okay.
She has a posture correction institute
Oh.
called Sitten, where I am also a part of that. We conduct regular webinars. I think on for the international audience on healthcare and all that. So I would thank Lisette also for being a part of this presentation today. Thank you, Lisette. So with that, I'll come to the end of the session. A very good evening to everybody.